I just like to work with them as a unit because I don't find it super valuable to like identify each and every one. You probably already know some of your guides. If you have specific questions, then as we get toward the end, you can ask them. But I'm just going to feel in for anything they want to tell you or say that I can understand. So. Okay, this is really interesting because I just said that I'm not going to identify your spirit guides. But I have to say that all of a sudden I get a really clear male energy. This is extremely obvious to me that you have a male energy. One of your main guides that I see is actually a man. So I don't know if you understand that already or if you're aware, but when that comes through to me, I'm like, oh, there's like a man leading the way. And this is going to sound kind of silly, but actually, someone has said this to me before. But this aspect of you that has like masculine energy that's quite powerful is a lot of the time too, because you have guides supporting you who have that kind of feeling about them as well. But here's the other thing that's really interesting. When this guide comes through, I also understand that it is like very calm, a very peaceful type guide. So I do believe that you have support in terms of reaching that state of peace and calm in yourself. And the reason that this comes through so strongly right now is because we were just talking about sitting in the power and meditation and finding that calm space. So it makes me feel like they want you to know that this aspect of reaching that peaceful state, whether it's in your life, in relationship with people, or with other people, it makes me feel they're very, very much backing up what I said about the fact that going into this place that you've not yet found enjoyable is a really important aspect of your development. They're backing up everything about trance, finding a way to love meditation, finding a way to be in stillness more often. And what comes across to me as well is music from them, because they make me feel that you have tried a lot of different things, you've listened to things, but you've also spent ample time sitting in the power in silence. Do you understand this? And they make me feel like this seems like a silly little tip, but just having music, that's okay. Having something quiet or nature sounds is something that can soothe your nervous system a little bit more. And again, it's like, it's funny because what they also say is like, she's tried that, but like to lean into this aspect more, because there's so much for your potential in terms of like that deep passive stillness. And they actually show me a version of you that continues to head more in this direction of feeling very, the only way I could say it is feeling very zen in your life in a way that is wonderfully joyful to you, because your guides make me feel that that's actually a deep desire in you, is to find a greater peace than you've been able to have throughout a lot of your life. Um, and so that desire to feel like you can just let it all go and let down the walls is, and they bring up a lot of emotion right now, which I can feel in you that it just kind of hit in that moment, because this is a really true, deep desire of you to feel like, I want to be able to live a life where I can let go of feeling like I need to be holding all these balls in the air and controlling everything and always feeling
Yep.
like I'm on guard. Okay.
Mhm.
And if I felt like I didn't have to expend so much of my energy in these other directions, then I would be able to just let this all come flooding in and then let all my gifts come flooding out. And
Mhm.
I feel that, and again, it's so funny. I almost always work with them as a team, but this guy is just like standing forth because he's very calm, he's very peaceful. He seems quite archaic to me, the way that I interpret him at least. And I just feel like I'm around you, constantly working to give calming, peaceful energy. So you have that. It's there. And the biggest thing that I feel like he and, whoever the rest of your team is wants to tell you is that this is a very real possibility for you, and not just a possibility. This is a reality for you, because they tell me that one of the biggest questions that you have in your lowest moments is, but can that really happen? Because there's a big part of you that's thought, well, maybe this is just who I'm going to be in this life. Maybe this is my struggle for this life, and this is who I am. And I feel like I have lots of emotion and so much encouragement to tell you, no, this is not as good as it gets. Do not buy into that, because you have bought into that past. Like every human who, when they're in like their darkness, which I'm not saying you're in your darkness right now, but I think that there's a constant desire for relief, and then past what comes after relief, right? Just peace, calm, all of those things. And this study of perhaps trance or doing more meditation is not the only aspect that's going to bring you that. Obviously, there's so many possibilities in the world that are outside of the spiritual realm. But in this line of work that you do, there's a lot of opportunity for you to get to the other side of what this feels like for you and to reach that really calm, peaceful place. Okay, he's also talking about just getting in your head sometimes, like getting stuck in your head and beating up on yourself when your evidence isn't specific enough. It's like, that's too general. Or why didn't I know there were two spirits there? I've been doing this long enough type of thing. Like a real impatience in yourself because you're always measuring yourself up against how long you've been doing this and that you should know better. Do you understand that?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like a big stop, stop, and stop. Remember the thing that every single medium has to remember. Sometimes sitters are really freaking difficult. And I am the last person, like me, Mel, have to say, I'm the last person to like blame a sitter on the quality of my reading or a spirit, never. But I will say that your guides are wanting me to remind you that this is a three-way operation from spirit,
Mhm.
through spirit, to spirit, and you do not have control over two-thirds of that equation. So
Mhm.
it may not be a spirit's fault, but reminding you, they all communicate in different ways, just the way incarnated people do. And if they're trying to use your frame of reference in a way that's not the perfect fit, or they're using a clair that isn't the one you use the most, they also say you're very clairvoyant. Do you understand that too? Okay, so you get tons of images, but let's say that you start to get somebody who's super clairaudient. This would be a bigger challenge for you than a spirit that would be highly clairvoyant, is what he's telling me. And so remember that. And that's one of the reasons that you want to expand your toolbox so much, because you're like, no, I want to be able to do that. And you can do that. He says you can do that, but you have to be patient with yourself because the way that you judge, okay, I just have to be honest. I'm going to give it to you straight how they're saying it. The way that you judge other people is not as harsh as how you judge yourself. But it's one of the reasons you judge other people because you judge yourself so harshly. And by the way, there's no aspect of this that's not saying you're not a wonderfully, beautifully kind person because I know that you are. But every single human who would ever have the experience that we're having now would need to admit that they did the same damn thing, right? But this is harsher for you because of the way that you're hard on yourself. And they also say this comes from a parental aspect as well. Do you understand that piece? Hard judgment. This feels like something paternal to me, if you understand that. Um, okay, so sorry, I'm trying to keep all of your family out right now too. But there's okay, let me refocus. We're just working with the guides today, y'all. Um, Whew, okay, so all of that is something that's really come in and affects things, right? But there's also this feeling in you that if you know that critical aspect, that analytical aspect of ourselves is what makes us better. Very true. But the judgment aspect actually slows down the process. And you know this because your guide is reminding us that judgment, fear, any of those things, they're just a lower vibration. It's not necessarily, it doesn't make you bad or anything like that, but it makes it harder to get up to where we're connecting with spirit. And so that's why you get kind of grossed out by the fact that like people get rah rah and all lovey dovey all the time about spirit. And it's not just that. Like that's, I would say that's a pet peeve of yours. But but he just says valid, totally fine. Spirit is not always lovey dovey. And one of the reasons that we're working up in this area is because we're trying to work at a higher vibration for a more accurate reading. Okay. So I would just say your guides are calling you out on your harsh judgment of self. And it really starts to bring in that these are past patterns. They're learned things from family, yes. And one of your ways to excel more quickly in your work is to do whatever it takes, get whatever support to let go of those things so that you can be a, feel like you can ascend during readings to that level and not carry these other things with you. Because also these are one of the challenges in terms of having bias during a reading. When it's hard to see like the family dynamic that you wish you would have had, then when you read for someone else and you get that, it's like you question it, you understand? So this is some of the stuff that they're bringing through as well. Give me a second. I feel like I have a lot of gratitude from your team for just being steadfast because in a lot of other ways you've been quite steadfast. I mean, you've been doing this for so long. It feels like this has been your thing. This has been your thing. This has been your thing. Um, I do think there were times when you were younger, they're telling me that it makes me feel that it could have kind of scared you a little bit, but I don't think that was a huge thing. I think you just kind of continued to know that this is where you wanted to go. And, like a loyalist aspect is how they make me feel. Um, hmm. Oh my God, this is interesting and you're going to hate it. I'm sorry. Your guides are actually, your guides are bringing up this aspect of you partnering with other mediums or intuitives. Um, the reason I said I think you're going to hate it, not them, is that I know that it just feels to me. So I'm kind of going back and forth between like psychic and mediumistic. Okay. It's kind of like they're telling me stuff and then I'm doing commentary on it a little bit based on what I read from you. So just to be ethical about that. But your guides make me feel like it could be really powerful if to team up with somebody. I don't know if you've already done this or they're just sharing this as a potential, but it makes me feel, again, when we go back to this aspect of you really trusting someone, really valuing their skills, there's actually, it makes me feel like there's somebody out there you either already know or you're aware of or you're going to become aware of who has very different mediumistic and intuitive skills from you. And that pairing up together with them could bring a lot of joy to the situation. But because you're so complementary, both of you really get to shine and you get to learn from each other. Because that's the thing. You hate being in groups or partnerships where you feel like things are plateaued. That is the thing.
Mhm.
And so your guides just make me feel like there's either somebody coming or there may be an opportunity. And you're just going to have to feel out and see, do I respect this person? Do I think their skills are off the charts? Do they impress me? And then maybe teaming up to do some kind of work together could be really cool. Because what they're showing me as well is that you would have a strong potential to do group readings as well. So I don't know if you've done them before. This would be a step outside your comfort zone, is how it makes me feel. Do you understand that? It kind of makes you feel like you're going to shit your pants a little bit, but that's a good thing. But if you could do it with somebody else where you could read, they could read, or you could link into the same spirit and kind of tag team somebody, you would have a lot of fun because not all the pressure is on you. But again, there's this aspect of you that's kind of masochistic is too strong a word, but it's like I hate getting out of my comfort zone, but push me out because I want to be better, you know? So they're kind of bringing that thing up. This person does feel as if, oh wait, when I first started talking about this other potential person, it felt like it was a woman, but then I also see a man here as well. So it makes me just feel that there would be a couple different potentials where you could work with different people because, like some of the best mediums are the nicest people. And that's not always true. But when they're really good at their work, it's usually because they've done a lot of their work sometimes, at least in my experience. So it could be somebody who's they just have to be really good at sharing the stage because you're never going to walk in and try to take something over from somebody. That's just not in your nature. But they just say caution, like don't just jump in with somebody who's just going to want to hear themselves talk the whole time and take all the contacts, and then you'll only get to jump in a couple of times because that will make you decide that you hate doing the group reading thing. But or it doesn't even have to be group. It could be that when you get into the healing work, that you could also work in cooperation with someone else as well, because there's some aspect of they want you to take pressure off of yourself because sometimes you really put the pressure on. And that for every
Mhm.
medium, that's the thing that kind of like, it brings us like the confidence or like the pressure kind of brings us down. It makes it harder to get to that place. So they definitely want to bring up that piece as well. But I find that really interesting. So, if it's not group, I do feel like really push to at least try this at some point in the future because the thing that they make me feel is connecting with what I said before as well, that you're in a place where you're you're kind of terrified, but also excited to be getting out of what you've done before and having those boundaries pushed. And so they're giving you different ways of being able to do that, if that makes sense. Um, okay, let me see if there's any other closing things that kind of come to me. Hmm. Okay, final thought. It doesn't, did you do, I don't feel that you've taught a class, but I wonder if you've done some coaching. Do you understand that?
Mhm.
So haven't taught a class for mediumship or intuition, but have worked one-on-one with clients where you're kind of helping them with their gifts. That's what they share with me. But they also say like, so they say like the potential for teaching is also another thing because what happens when you teach is you realize that you have a wealth of knowledge and that actually really has boosted your confidence in the past. It's not that it's like the most favorite thing for you to do all the time, but they're like, it's good money and like, it really helps you realize how much you know. So they want you to remember how much you know. If you wanted to go down the teaching route, you would be extremely supported by your team for that as well. So that's an aspect, especially because they make me feel that as you're growing one aspect of your mediumship, if this is something that helps financially too, then that's definitely a path for you that you would be well supported. And you have experience because you've done one-on-one. And what they're reminding me right now to tell you is that teaching a group is way easier than teaching one-on-one, and it's really fun. So that's an aspect. Now, it's funny because they're like, well, she may not necessarily think it's fun because, there's a lot of people and it just kind of depends. But I know that the teaching aspect is a road that's available to you should you choose it. Okay.